Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Pablo, and on today's video I want to talk about how to prune indeterminate tomatoes. Let's start by recognizing the different leaves that tomato plants have. So this is a sun leaf. As you can see, this is the main leaf in the plant. This is the one in charge of absorbing the energy from the sun and directed to the plant. This one has extra leaves around. They are long and you can recognize it by its shape. We have the blossoms. This is the fruit, flower. This is where the tomatoes are going to come out. As you can see, there is a little tomato. Then we have the blossom leaf. These leaves come in the middle, in between the blossom and the main stem. And then finally we have the suckers. So I went through all of this explanation because I want you to understand the different leaves that the plant have before we start removing leaves. We remove suckers to prevent the plant from having too many leaves or stems. Suckers will create a new stem. So as you can see, for all of these plants that have grown, they all have one single leader, one main thick stem. So suckers will create a new leader on the plant. You can grow as many leaders as you want, but the problem is that if you grow too many, then the plant will focus its energy into growing that new stem instead of growing flowers. They recommend to grow between 1 to 4 leaves or stems on the tomato plants. It all depends on the purpose that you have for it. It also depends on how much space you got in the garden. As you can see, I planted all of these tomato plants very close to each other. That's not really ideal, but because I only grew one stem, I thought that would be fine. And as you can see, I haven't had many problems with it. There is plenty of flowers and plenty of fruit. Now that we understand the purpose of the stems or the leaves on the plant, we can start pruning them. So as I explained before, suckers, these ones, will create new leaves or stems on the plant. Suckers are easy to recognize by the angle on how they grow. So as you can see, there is the main stem, and then there is a sun leaf, which you can see, easy to recognize, and then the sucker will grow in the middle of them too. When you remove a sucker, it's very easy. If it's small enough, you can just pinch it with your fingers. If the sucker is big enough, I would recommend to use some tools. If you pinch or pull a sucker on the plant, it may create a scar that will be prone to diseases. That's why we use the tool. If you are still confused on how to recognize suckers on a tomato plant, I will tell you something very interesting that I recently learned. So tomato plants have a structure when they grow. As you can see, there is a blossom or tomatoes. Then there is going to be a sun leaf. Then there is going to be a second sun leaf. Then there is going to be a third sun leaf. In some cases it's 2 or 3. I don't know if 4, but then there is a blossom again. So it repeats. There is a sun leaf, there is a sun leaf, there is a sun leaf, and then a blossom. So this is very important, so you are able to recognize between a blossom and a sucker. So as a beginner, you want to avoid getting rid of the blossoms. That's why I taught you this trick. that you can use all along while you are growing the tomato plants. So as you can see, there is a sun leaf, then there is a second sun leaf, then there is a third sun leaf, and then there is the blossom. And you can see a sucker growing in the middle between a sun leaf and the main stem. And it's also growing in a 45-degree angle. So this one, we can just pinch it because it's small enough. Another thing that I like to take in account when growing tomato plants is to get rid of all the bottom leaves on the plant if they are touching the soil or the ground. The reason for that is that if leaves are touching the soil, they will be prompt to attract diseases that will transfer from the leaves into the plant. Another thing to take in account is extra growth, growing from a plant which has already been developing for a while. As I told you, I only want one main leader on the plant, and this is another sucker growing the bottom of it. The reason why I don't want it is because this will take the energy that could be going into the tomatoes to mature. One last thing that I would like to mention, and that is very important when you are growing indeterminate tomato plants, it's not to get rid of the top of the plant. Otherwise, you are going to tamper the growth. But if it's the end of the season, you may want to get rid of the top of the plant because you know winter is coming or the life cycle of the plant is ending. Then what will happen is that the plant is not going to focus its energy into the top of the plant and the leaves that will eventually come out. Instead, it will focus the energy into developing the remaining tomatoes that has been growing on the plant. So, as you can see, this plant is already big enough, and I would like to get rid of the top so it can focus the energy into growing more tomatoes. So as you can see, there is some blossoms which I would like to leave, and then there is some little blossoms growing in here. So I'm gonna leave that in there, but then get rid of the top of the plant, which is here. I'm gonna leave this sun leaf, I'm gonna leave this blossom, and I'm going to pinch just that. That's it. Then you can see how it will look. We got the sun leaf, and then we got the blossom, and then the top is off. Okay, so I found something really interesting while looking at this plant. I saw some tomatoes growing, some blossoms, and then leaves. Like, have you seen something like that before? Is that normal? And there is more blossoms coming out. That's crazy. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this. That's all for today. If you have any comments or any questions, please leave them down below in the comment box. If you enjoy the content of this channel, please don't forget to subscribe. And thank you for watching.